this. The purpley looking stuff is the Amazon pieces. And what I've drawn here is the example, is the sort of the flow of data that goes through the systems for the API. So each of these blobs is basically either an Amazon service or an instance type. I'll start at the order we built this. So the first thing is on the right we have all the API and all the other stuff. I just put etc. in there because it's yet another set of complicated stuff. And behind that we have several Oracle databases. We've already sort of sharded our data out a little bit amongst Oracle. So the first thing you need to do is replicate that data into the cloud so that you can access it locally. So the first thing that was built starting about 2 years ago by Sid primarily, and a bunch of people on this team, Sid's somewhere in here. Anyway, so we'll mention Sid later so you can look up his name. So we built a replication system that sucks data out of Oracle and stuffs it in SimpleDB. And Sid's written a paper for QCon on, like the wizard level, how to do stuff in SimpleDB. So now we've got the data in SimpleDB, we can start to put the front-end services in front of it. We started building those. And then you start building like, okay, what's the minimum service that you need that actually does something interesting? And I'll talk a bit about how we do the step-by-step to get there. But for the API, it's talking to SimpleDB, it's talking to a whole set of other component services, and then we had to drop memcached in there to sort of fix latency, to get lower latency on things, so that I kind of put in another color. It's not really needed by the architecture, but we put it in there as an optimization. Coming in at the top, we go through an elastic load balancer, and then we hit a proxy, and that proxy can redirect traffic to the data center, where the old API is, or it can send it to the cloud. And this is a really important migration strategy, to have a knob you can turn that sends either a class of traffic or a percentage of traffic one way or the other. And we used that several times as a pattern in our migration. That proxy then goes into another ELB and then hits the API. And I'll mention some issues in doing that in a minute. Up on the top left is the discovery service, which is also built by the infrastructure team, guys that are hanging around here. The problem here is in the cloud, there is no sort of local DNS service, and you don't want to put all of your services in DNS so that everyone can see them. This is supposed to be middle tier internal infrastructure. The names of these machines should not be globally visible, right? So you need a way to find them. So we have a discovery service that the services say, hey, I'm an XYZ, or I'm an API server, and so we collect all the API servers that are announcing them to us, and then when you want to talk to an API server, you can basically ask the discovery service for a list of the API servers and round robin across them. So we built ourselves sort of a middle tier software load balancer using the discovery service as the rendezvous point. Again, there's a little bit of EBS in here. We have a small amount of MySQL in the cloud. We do a little bit of replication from the data center to the cloud for one of our services. Not really ideal, and we're sort of trying to get away from that. We really wanted to get away from needing any DBA support in the cloud at all. And what we've done over the last year or so, we have approximately quadrupled how many machines we have, and we have basically no additional DBAs or sysadmins or whatever over what we used to have for running our data center. So we just, we continue to have an IT operations group that runs the data center, and they run the CDNs and do the networking and stuff like that. But for the cloud, it's all, the Amazon API is our IT ops department. You just poke it and the machine appears. And that gives us the ability to scale very rapidly. We wouldn't have been able to hire enough sysadmins to do this kind of thing anyway, right? If we were trying to do it by hand. Okay, so let's do the next slide. There's a bunch of stuff in that architecture which we regard as undifferentiated heavy lifting that we're still having to do. And this is our list of things we'd like Amazon or other cloud vendors to do for us. We don't really want to have to do middle tier load balancing ourselves. It's, it should just be there, and Amazon, we keep asking Amazon for that. This local DNS, we had to build our discovery service. There's encryption services, key management, things like that. We had to put our own caching tiers in, and distributed app management, just sort of tracking all these services, all those kinds of things. This is a really cute picture. If you stare at it, you realize that's the moon.